is the best person to manage a trust? So when you first make your trust, you and whoever you make the trust with, your spouse, your partner, you will be the initial trustees usually. But once you lose capacity during your lifetime or after your death, a successor trustee will take over. So what are some of the considerations? Number one, is the person trustworthy? Of course, we can't always know if somebody is trustworthy until they have the opportunity to show themselves. But what is your experience with the person? Are they honest? What are their dealings in the community? How well do you know them? Because the trustee isn't going to be supervised by any court, and they're going to have a lot of access to all of your assets. And so you want to make sure one of the critical factors is, are they trustworthy? The second question about who should be trustee to consider is, how complicated is your financial life? Does your financial life require someone who understands real estate transactions? Maybe you have a rental property that needs to be actively managed. Maybe you have a business interest that also requires somebody who has sort of complex understanding of business transactions. And so your trustee needs to be sophisticated enough to step in your shoes. They don't necessarily have to do everything you do. They may have to retain professionals to help them. So trustee may have to hire a property manager to manage a property. They won't do it themselves, whereas you manage the property yourself. But they need to understand what to look for in a property manager, how to read the reports that the property manager is putting out, what is an appropriate fee for a property manager. And so another thing to consider is your level of financial sophistication and then the level of sophistication of the proposed trustee. Usually people think of their spouse first, their partner first as the successor trustee, and then maybe they go on to their children. It is fairly typical in trusts with families that someone's feelings are hurt because they are not the trustee. The worst thing, in my opinion, that you can do is take the child whose feelings would be hurt if you did not pick them and make them co-trustees with a child you think would do a better job. And that happens quite a bit. People say, I think my daughter would be great at being the trustee, but if I named her, my son's feelings would be hurt. And so then they stick them together. Or even worse, they would say, my other daughter's feelings would really be hurt. And so we're going to make her the trustee. And so a big mistake that people make is, instead of looking at the objective criteria of who would do the best job, they do it based on whose feelings would be hurt the most. And so these are really hard decisions, and they can cause, fights and problems in the family. But administering a trust is hard work. It requires a certain skill level, and that is what needs to be focused on. And you can write a note and explain why it is you picked the trustee you picked to try and lessen the hurt feelings if those exist. But it's really important to pick someone who is trustworthy and diligent. Sometimes people will not want to rely on friends and family members to be the trustee of their trust, and they will hire a private professional fiduciary. That's a person who's licensed by the state of California to do things like serve as a trustee. Why do they do it? The reason they do it is to avoid the family fight over who got picked to be trustee, to make sure the trust is professionally administered, and that each person named in the trust is going to get the gift that you intended for them. They're not going to have a personal interest in the trust. And those people are licensed and bonded, and you can require them to get an insurance policy while they're in charge of your trust to make sure that if anything went wrong, your beneficiaries would still receive their gifts. And so there are a number of options for who should be trustee, but it's an incredibly personal choice to you. Who could manage your affairs if you weren't able to do it, and who will make sure that your hard-earned estate, your property, goes exactly where you want it to go. It's Attorney Amy. I hope you liked that video. Please remember to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell for more content like this. I post every week. If there's topics or issues you think I should cover and you haven't seen a video here yet, please let me know in the comments.